Welcome to Small Talk, everybody. I'm saying this right up front, like, share, and subscribe. So now to the interview. I'm just doing that because I hear a lot of people don't watch till the end, naughty people. So my guest has been here a couple times before. I'm really pleased to have him back. He is the Media Liaison Officer for the Surrey Police. Welcome back, Ian MacDonald.
It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for inviting me back.
Oh, I'm just so pleased rather, because you always have such great information, and you know that applies to not only Surrey, but any city, right? So today, hopefully we have time for both subjects. One is personal and community safety, and the other would be frauds and scams. So let's talk about the safety first.
Right, and I think that, it's a growing concern. There's lots of headlines coming out of downtown Vancouver about people in neighborhoods, Yaletown or on the east side, where they're not feeling, at least the perception is they're not feeling as safe as they have previously. And so some of those things are going to relate to media stories. Some of those things are going to relate to word of mouth. Some of it could be personal incidents, theft, robbery, those types of things. But some of it might be how people are watching out and being careful themselves. And so what we can do, unfortunately, as individuals is sometimes we let our guard down. Sometimes we are not making those assessments of our surroundings. And those assessments should be done regardless of where you live, regardless of what media stories are playing out on TV or on the headlines. You should always be kind of aware of your surroundings and doing a little bit of a safety assessment. And I don't consider that fear mongering. I think of it in terms of, as a parent, you're always looking out for potential hazards for your child, whether it's the corner of the coffee table or whether they might go wandering out of bounds in the playground. As we grow, we still have to recognize that there are dangers. And those dangers could be, inadvertently paying too much attention to our cell phones and not enough attention to surroundings. And I guarantee, Nancy, that you see that all day like I do.
Yes.
People who are almost walking into traffic because they're so focused on whatever is happening on TikTok or Twitter.
Right.
By the same token, society changes. And now increasingly, and for the benefit of residents, there are more and more bike lanes. But I have seen more and more near collisions and sometimes collisions between bicyclists and pedestrians because there isn't enough awareness of the fact that there's going to be different types of traffic.
Right.
So people are used to the walk signals and they're used to the intersections. Yeah. They're not necessarily alert to the fact that if they just step off the curb, there could be a bicycle and a bicyclist who's appropriately using that lane, but now they're going to come into the path of each other. Right. So that general awareness, and I just say this, people can say that I'm fear mongering or whatever. I just think that individually, we are focusing so much on our devices. We are so focused in whatever is happening in our day. And I don't think we're focused enough on what's happening in the outside world.
Right. It just sounds to me like common sense.
Yeah, sprinkle a little common sense, and I think it'll go a long way. But I guarantee in many situations that you hear after the fact, oh, well, I didn't notice that this person came up and was standing right behind me, and next thing I know, they, grabbed my cell phone from me or grabbed my wallet or took the money off the counter. A lot of it just is a matter of know your surroundings and then adjust for the conditions. So, for example, throughout my course of tenure in policing, oftentimes we would caution people against, yes, it can be convenient to have an ATM that is right next to the road or sometimes as a drive-through ATM, but know who's around you while you're trying to access that ATM. And if your spidey senses are tingling, they're tingling for a reason. And I've always said that to people. People will say, if you're taking a report from them or just having a conversation with somebody who is relating to you that something went sideways, they will often say, yeah, my gut was telling me that this wasn't right. Listen to your gut. Those instincts are on board for a reason.
Absolutely. One of the simple things, like on my street, there's streetlights on one side of the road only. So it's just common sense to walk where the streetlights are, right?
Absolutely. And again, this is not everybody should have to do this. We're not saying everybody should have to. Obviously, in a perfect world, you should be able to go about your business without any fears. Unfortunately, we don't live in that world.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we have to take additional precautions. And so even if it means for those who are still going to and from work, if it means going out, especially as the days get shorter, if it means leaving for your vehicles at the same time, or heading to the parking lot at the same time,
Right.
it's well worth that 5 or 10 minutes.
Yes.
As opposed to, making that that venture out on your own, because you won't be able to take it back should something go sideways.
Another thing I want to mention is, like, for a lot of people out at night, when they're getting to where there's a cross, come to an intersection, and they're wearing dark clothes.
Yeah.
That's dangerous. Cars can't always see them, right?
Right, and let's be honest. The impact between a human being, and I've been in the position, so the impact between a human being and a car, the human being is going to lose every single time.
Yeah.
And so I always say to people, is it a matter of you being right? And how much are you willing to stake on being right? Because you could still be right. Yes, you do have the right of way. Yes, the car should have stopped. But if you are in an ambulance and you're carted off for medical treatment, are you going to take any solace in the fact, well, I was in the right, even though I got punted 20 feet down the street? That there is no consolation in going, I was in the right, I stood my ground, and my reward was I went bouncing off the bumper of the car. Again, we recognize anytime we're out and about, the same acknowledgement that we would have of pedestrians sometimes being too focused on their devices. We all know that drivers can be too focused on devices or other distractions and not focused on that complex task at hand, which is driving.
Right.
And so you've got to put both of those variables into the mix and go, what is going to keep me safe? Not just who's in the right, what will keep me safe today?
Yeah. And as a pedestrian, like, I don't drive anymore, but if I'm out at night, I bought these little clip-on, their lights.
Yeah.
So
Excellent.
that, the cars can see me if I'm at a corner.
Yep.
I make sure they but I always wait anyway. I make sure that they stop, or if I see them continuing, I will wait, because, like you said, cars a lot bigger and stronger than I am.
And again, I use the analogy of children, right? So what would you do? Like, I realize these are adults and you can make your own decisions, and dressing all in black and walking around at night certainly is your prerogative. But if you were asking what will make you safer, then obviously dressing in lighter colors, having some kind of reflection. I mean, I know a lot of running gear now has that built-in reflective tape on it.
Yeah.
I know that there are numerous, whether they're afforded by ICBC or whether they're over the counter at your favorite store, you can get those loops that you can put on your coats. You can get those illuminating lights. There's many ways that you can make yourself more visible. And at the end of the day, it's just increasing your safety.
Yeah.
And so do you have to do it? Of course you don't have to do it. But you also are preventing that potential ride in the ambulance. And so I think it's worth the $2 or $4 you might spend.
Absolutely. Now let's change the subject and talk about scams and frauds. I mean, I don't know how often I get those phone calls. It's either my credit card, somebody's used it, or my SIN number. There's all these, there's a million of them, it seems to be. Right. And I know I'm aware enough not to fall for those type of things, but I know a lot of people do get scammed. So how do you advise people?
It's absolutely heartbreaking, because a lot of the people who are targeted are vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so I kind of put them in two categories. The one category is, you're not going to believe your luck. This foreign prince has all this money waiting for you, and all you need to do to unlock wealth beyond your imagination is to wire transfer 5,000 of your own dollars. And somehow that's magically going to free up billions for you. Yes. So the too good to be true scam. And I can tell you, we've had people come into the front counter of police departments in absolute tears because their family has confronted them and said, you've spent $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 chasing this billion that doesn't exist. So we've seen it firsthand, where even family members are trying to convince the victim of the truth, and they don't want to believe it because they know that if this thing just happens, they will make everybody look bad, and then they can shower them with their wealth. Yeah. So that's the positive of the negatives, which is, hey, something really great is going to happen to you. The one that we're seeing increasingly is the authoritarian. You have done something wrong. The government has caught up with you. And so it's either Revenue Canada, big bad Revenue Canada, everybody's scared of Revenue Canada. It's the federal government has a warrant for you for who knows what.
Yeah.
Immigration authorities are after you. There's a problem with your passport. There's a problem with your immigration documents. Or it's a family member, relative, or acquaintance who has found themselves in this predicament. And the only one that they've reached out to try to help them happens to be you. And the magic formula, again, similar to the rich prince, the magic formula in order for you to unlock that problem is to wire transfer money.
Right.
And so anytime someone is trying to get money from you to resolve the problem, and they're trying to do it in live time, I would say that is going to be a major flag. The other things to be alert for is, as I mentioned before, the jackpot or the positive.
Right.
If it's too good to be true, Nancy, you know us. It's
It is
not true.
Yeah,
right?
There's a Facebook one. I get that a lot at these compensation programs, and it's like, seriously, right? Like, you found my name on Facebook in this program. Like, come on.
Yeah, and let's be honest. If there was a class action lawsuit, if you went to school in the 70s and you might have drank from a water fountain that could have had a lead pipe, there could be millions coming your way. Well, there were a lot of us that went to school in the 70s, and a lot of us drank out of the water fountains. And no one's come knocking on my door with caseloads of money. Yeah. So inevitably, what these scams are precipitated on are, again, the idea that there's going to be a lot of money. Yeah. But trust me, they will be coming for your wallet before they will ever be looking to put anything in it.
Right.
And so once again, that should be a flag for you.
There's this whole thing about catfishing too. That's another thing that I hear about, that people really end up spending hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right. And again, it's people chasing the dream. Right. And again, this is not to make their predicament worse, but the reality is, if you break it down, you and I have both lived X number of years and had life experience that has shown us this is basically the way our life works. We have ups, we have downs, we have good days, we have bad days, but we don't have a lot of jackpots. We don't find many pots of gold that we just happen upon. We work hard and we earn money, and then we turn that money into things or experiences. And the best times that we have are usually times that we have with friends, loved ones, family. It's not the cash.
Yeah.
But oftentimes what people are catfished into is, seldom are they catfished into a relationship where the person is unattractive. Equally rare is that they're catfished into a relationship where the person is unattractive and poor.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Guess what? You found the love of your life.
Yeah.
He looks like a sack of hammers, and he doesn't have 5 cents in his pocket. Nobody's telling me that story of them being catfished.
Right.
Everybody's telling me the story of, you won't believe it. Yeah. I've lived in the Lower Mainland my entire life, and I've never been lucky in love. But there's this person in France who just happens to be 20 years younger than me, is a supermodel, and finds me completely fascinating. And guess what? They're rich. And all I have to do is, they don't have access to all their money, because it's tied up in stocks and bonds and investments and cruise ships and everything else. If I can just broker them for a little while, sort of short-term finance them, we're going to live happily ever after.
I was laughing, but it isn't funny. It really isn't funny when somebody does get scammed like that.
No, and like I said, sometimes it's absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah.
For some people, it's, I think most people go in eyes open when they buy a lottery ticket. Right. They recognize that the actual odds of them winning the lottery are very slim. And some people will say, well, it's still worth $5 to me to have the dream. Unfortunately, in these kind of catfish situations and in many of the fraud situations, people don't go in with that same mindset, right? Because it
Yes.
affects us specifically, and maybe the person online is referring to us by name, or the caller is referring to us by name, or the email names us. It becomes more personal. And now we think, well, this can't be the 1 in a million or 1 in 7 million.
Right.
This has to be pretty reasonable odds, or they wouldn't know me, or they wouldn't be reaching out to me. And what you don't recognize is they aren't just reaching out to you. They've probably reached out to 100,000 people, and they're just hoping to get as much money as they can before they shut down that scam and move on to something that is a cousin of that scam.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult to tell people, because they do feel, especially in this day and age where more is done online, more is done through email, that they are actually making a connection with somebody.
Yeah. And if you think about it, like if you were to meet somebody in person, like why would that person be asking you for money? You know, they would never do it in person, or I mean, I'm sure they can, it happens, but not the same way, right?
Right. And a lot of the basic things, this is my confession. My wife and I will watch reality TV, and sometimes when you watch these shows, they focus on the sort of catfishing. And a person will say, a family member will say, well, this person's in love with you. Have you ever video chatted with them? Oh, no, but they sent me a picture.
Yes.
Well, they have a phone. How come you can't talk to them live? Oh, it's just not convenient to talk live, so we just send texts instead.
Yeah.
These should all be flags.
Yeah.
I mean, just as you and I can have a conversation over Zoom, why could not two people who are deeply in love and planning a future together with billions of dollars at stake, why could they not find the same conduit to make that kind of person-to-person connection, to at least verify who everyone is?
You know, it's interesting. Like I get this again, like a lot of people on Facebook. Someone will make a comment. Oh, Nancy, I saw your video and you're drop dead gorgeous. And I'm thinking, seriously, I have a mirror. You know, so as soon as somebody says that to me, and I'm thinking, like, I know they're trying to scam me. You know, because that's not something I would ever fall for. Right. I don't know why people do fall for a comment like that. You know, if you're realistic about yourself.
Yep.
Like, come on. You know?
And let's be honest, like, so in the social media realm, I post a fair amount, and you do get these completely unsolicited, hey, baby, oh, I saw this.
Yeah.
If anybody takes any of that seriously, you should not be in social media.
Right.
Basically, you've thrown out a net, and some people who you want in the friends and family and followers group will give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down saying that they like what you posted. But when you get something back, like if you post a picture, I often post pictures of my dog. If you get something back that doesn't match what you've put out there, then you know that they're baiting you. Right. So I put out a picture of my dog and they go, hey, baby, I really love your personality and I think we would get along well together. I never respond to them, but in my mind, I'm thinking, are you speaking to me or my dog?
Yeah.
Right? Because it was a picture of my dog. So anyways, it falls into that category. Part of it, it's hard not to feel melancholy about it. Yeah. There are a lot of people out there that are lonely and they want to have a connection. And in modern society, sometimes it's more difficult to make that connection. But that ends up being a vulnerability that unfortunately unscrupulous people will prey on. Yeah. And so that's why I think we have to even more diligently watch out for friends and family. And that's why I think it's even more important that people watch your program so that they can go, okay, I did hear Nancy talk about that. Yeah. I did see it on one of the episodes where they were saying, if it's too good to be true, if your gut's telling you,
pay attention.
Pay attention and give it a second look. And a lot of these scams, like even if you just take the general premise and you put it into a Google search, you'll see that there are hundreds and hundreds of other people who are warning you away from that scam. Yeah.
There's another one, like I got this email from supposedly my server is Sean. So I get this email one time that's my last payment didn't go through. You know, and so I go and I check my account because I do my banking online and it looked like it go through. So before I sent anything, I contacted Shaw by phone and they said, no, they checked my account. No, it went through. so it looks like the logo looks almost the same as Shaw,
Yeah.
the real one, but it's not. So that's another thing people need to pay attention to, things like that, right?
Yeah, and I'm starting to see a lot of the responsibility shift to the actual companies, because again, that was excellent diligence on your part, Nancy. But let's be honest, we're part of a cohort that is aging,
Right.
and so technology is moving so quickly.
Yeah.
That soon we are going to be in that group that doesn't know how to shut the timer off on the VCRs.
Yeah.
We are going to be behind the technology, and that's where I think it's going to become more and more incumbent on companies like Shaw, on companies like TELUS,
Right.
on those whether it's property taxes or whether it's utility bills. It's going to be more and more incumbent on them to make sure that their customers are taken care of and protected.
Yeah.
And not always rely on the customers and their diligence.
Right. Good point. Well, we'll end it there. All right. So thank you so much to everybody. That was Ian MacDonald. He comes on and he has, listen, it just, so much of it is just common sense. And as he says, pay attention. We have to start getting back to trusting our instincts, because I think we've kind of lost our way with that. So anyway, thank you everybody for watching the show, and take care and be nice, and peace out.
A sense of community, Chilliwack's a place to be. A sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's a place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's a place to be, you'll see.